The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam just after the NBA Draft Lottery. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. A fascinating draft lottery. The most rigged NBA Draft Lottery of all time, they're calling it.
We're going there already, right?
Okay, here's where we start. First of all, I didn't watch the Draft Lottery because, as many Suns fans know, there was like a 17% chance that we were going to hand over Houston a top 4 pick and like a 6% chance of the number 1 pick. Neither of those things happened.
Thank God.
Houston stayed in place, and I just knew because of that I didn't have the heart to watch it live, just because I'm always in cases like that of kind of these karmic proportions, I'm always preparing for the worst as a Suns fan. Yeah. But thankfully that did not come to pass. I got a good laugh out of the Simpsons meme you posted after that happened, by the way. If you want to explain what that was.
I did watch live. I tweeted that immediately after the Houston Suns pick, if you would, was announced, and I had to watch it live because I didn't want anyone else breaking it to me. I wanted to know what happened as it happened. Give me Deputy Commissioner, what's his name? Announcing it directly to me.
I don't know his name off the top of my head. Why don't I know his name? Oh my God.
I know his name normally. I've had a long day. Let's just go through it. The big news, obviously everyone listening to this knows. Mark Tatum, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Jason Tatum's dad.
Nepotism.
As we all know that are listening to this podcast, the Dallas Mavericks were gifted the number 1 pick by Adam Silver himself, frozen numbers. And because, no, it's Dallas won the lottery. I mean, this is what it is. It's difficult to process it, but Dallas won the lottery.
On
and
a
then
1.8% chance. 1.8. Yeah. You know, I thought
It's a disaster for a lot of teams that tanked. This is a disaster.
Yeah, so
the 3 teams in the top 3, Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, all built winners this season. They attempted to win this last season, and they're the top 3 of the draft. It's nuts.
I don't have the standings in front of me, but I know Dallas won 39 games. San Antonio, I want to say, won like 35.
And they were on a pace to win a lot more before Wemby went down, of course. And Philadelphia tried to build a contender this year.
Right, and then there were multiple teams in the teens this year. Utah, Washington, teams like that. They now have to settle for
the most blatant tanking we've seen by those 2 teams in particular.
And they now have
not to mention what Charlotte and New Orleans did towards the end of the season. Blatant tanking. And Utah's 5th, Washington's 6th, New Orleans, disaster for New Orleans, by the way, 7th. And then Charlotte, I think the luckiest of these terrible teams to get 4th, and that's not that great. I mean,
was Charlotte 4th?
A fascinating result.
Charlotte got 4th?
Mm-hmm. 4th, yeah. So I'll read the top 10 all the way up to the Houston pick. Dallas, San Antonio, Philadelphia, fascinating top 3. Charlotte, Utah, disaster. Washington, disaster. New Orleans, disaster. Brooklyn, 8th, disaster.
Yeah, they are not happy.
And then
with
9th, Toronto, 10th, Houston. I mean, this.
I'm sorry. I know
everyone's
everyone's saying this right now. I know everyone's saying it. And I know it's like the laziest analysis in the world. But they're making it a little too blatant. It's a little too blatant, isn't it? Look at these teams. Look at these teams in the top 3. The consolation prize that Nico Harrison has been awarded with. Of all of the CIA never cooked up a plot as nefarious, as diabolical as Adam Silver unleashing Nico Harrison on the NBA for what has transpired over the past 6 months. And now for him, am I what?
You're implicating everyone who was sitting there watching those balls.
I know. I don't care. I don't.
Including
I
Zach
don't
Lowe.
care.
Are you saying Zach Lowe is involved in this conspiracy?
He might
theory?
be. He might be. I'm saying I don't know that there's anyone we can trust anymore, because for Dallas to be rewarded with number 1 and Nico Harrison specifically, after they send Luka to LA for better ratings, for guaranteed great ratings for the next 10 years. And then another kind of win now team in San Antonio gets number 2 to potentially pair a great player with Wemby, or you trade it for something. And I have plenty of thoughts on that. We're going to get to that in a minute. And then number 3, Philadelphia, yet another team in a big market with big stars, big names, big expectations. It's just, I cannot believe that it played out this way. I cannot wrap my mind around it.
They really cooked up a top 3 to make it to where I was not happy for any of those 3 fan bases to be awarded this. Because like Dallas, obviously, legitimately felt bad for those fans this year. And I'm still unhappy that this was their sort of consolation prize, as you're calling it, another white superstar, potential superstar. We don't know what it's going to be in the NBA, being gifted to Dallas. San Antonio, of course, they don't need any more leg up here, but they're going to get the 2nd overall pick. And then Philadelphia, in a way, like they're the fan base that I'm the most sympathetic for, because their disastrous, expensive team mirrors ours in Phoenix. And so in some ways I'm like, okay, well, at least there's some way out of it for them if they can find a way to get actual, like they can build a new big 3 potentially out of Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, if he becomes what he looked like at the beginning of his rookie year, and then whatever this pick is, and then just completely move on. Or they can try to be good. Like if that team's fully healthy next year, they can just continue to attempt to be good, which is fascinating. The fan bases that sort of have suffered for a long time, Charlotte, Utah, Washington, New Orleans, and Brooklyn, notwithstanding, because they were good just a few years ago, it's more difficult to see them suffer here. I mean, but the big news for us, no matter what, is that Houston did not jump into that top 4, because the Suns have the opportunity, of course, to trade with them. And if they were in the top 4, I think that would be sort of out of the question. I mean, they're in the Giannis race no matter what. But yeah, that was, I think, what Suns fans were watching for. And in this case, we all knew the Suns pick was going to be 29th or whatever it's ended up being this year. I think there's only 29 picks in the first round for some reason. And in this case, that pick that the Suns could have owned had they not traded it for Kevin Durant is not going to be a top 4. So thank you, basketball gods, for at least giving us that.
We have to talk about this Giannis stuff.
Yeah. I love how it's reported, by the way.
Broke. Was that this morning or was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Was Shams?
It was this. I think it was this morning. Yeah.
Do you have the tweet in front of you?
I can bring it up. It was essentially, it's really funny the way that it's worded. Let me find it here. It's essentially the idea that Giannis is now okay exploring. Two-time NBA MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo has not made any firm decisions, but for the first time in his career, he's open-minded about whether his best fit is remaining in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere. Which is essentially saying Giannis is asking for a trade, but wants to make sure that the fan bases across the NBA aren't going to be mad at him for it.
Yeah, well, sure.
It's just throwing out a little bit of a feeler by an agent, essentially, to make sure that this is okay at this time. And yeah, I think that everyone sort of outside of Milwaukee is anticipating this happening. And in some ways, I think Milwaukee could just say no, but look, this is where we're at. Giannis is essentially exploring the market to see if he wants to ask for a trade, which is a hilarious way of this being reported.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on inside the minds of the Milwaukee front office, but they got their championship. I would have to think that if Giannis has sort of decided that he's come to the end of the road, or they collectively have come to the end of the road, he's also 30 years old. He's a player who, I understand, he became a much better jump shooter, mid-range jump shooter, at least this season, but who knows how his game is going to age compared to some stars, right? They should work with him. That he did what he set out to do. He won you a championship. It was an awesome performance in the finals. That's one of those. Giannis is one of those guys who honestly, like, even though he beat my team in the finals, not like I enjoyed watching it, but I respected the hell out of that performance. The 50-point game in the closeout game against the Suns was an awesome performance. So they should work with him to facilitate a trade if that's what he desires. And this idea that like only now is he coming to this idea of like maybe somewhere else is where he should be as opposed to Milwaukee if he wants to win. Like, obviously there's no contending future for you in Milwaukee, Giannis. The players that they have under contract, at least like a guaranteed contract next year, is Dame, who's old and hurt. Kyle Kuzma, trade was a disaster.
He sucked.
Is Bobby Portis going to take his player option? He might take his play. Pat Connaughton might take his player option. Neither of those guys.
It's almost worse for them if they do. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys aren't good anymore. Tyler Smith is on a rookie contract. A couple of these other guys like AJ Green, Andre Jackson, they're not fully guaranteed. That's the roster right now, next year. And they just don't have really any moves left in terms of building around Giannis. Dame doesn't really have much trade value. It's kind of like, I mean, I won't say it's as bad as the Bradley Beal thing, but it's maybe, approaching that level. Kuzma has...
no, I would say that it is basically as bad, yeah.
I don't know. You might, like, if you scoured the entire league, you might be able to find someone. But Kuzma obviously has no trade value. There are no moves left for Milwaukee. It's basically checkmate. And that means that a lot of these teams, including A, Houston, who you mentioned, and B, literally all three of the teams at the top of the lottery now, and a bunch of others, are all going to be interested in Giannis. Now, the reason it's relevant to Phoenix is because I feel like, especially before the lottery tonight, Giannis was held up as this like big sort of obstacle in the Kevin Durant trade, because the idea was like, oh, there's only so many suitors for Kevin Durant. No one's going to want KD if they can just get Giannis instead. The thing about that, though, that maybe people don't realize, Giannis is one person. You cannot clone him 4 or 5 times and send him to 4 or 5 different teams. There is going to be one team that wins the Giannis sweepstakes, and that team could be Houston. It could be Dallas. It could be San Antonio. It could be a number of other. It could be the New York Knicks. A number of other big market teams that feel that they could, the Oklahoma City Thunder if they get bounced, right? All sorts of teams. One team wins the Giannis sweepstakes. Every other team, once/if that domino falls, KD, as far as I can tell, is the best consolation prize on the market.
Yeah. And
so I don't buy this argument that KD's trade value is just so depleted because of Giannis. Again, especially now that you have all of these teams that are trying to win with the first, second, and third pick. Let me just ask you this. Well, I know what you're going to say. Like, if you had the choice of the 3 teams, right? Like, obviously you want to make the deal with Nico Harrison and get Cooper Flagg with the first overall pick, right? That's the dream. That's the dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be incredible.
If that can't happen...
Mm-hmm.
Let's say San Antonio, I'm sure these teams are all going to be involved for Giannis, but like only one of them can get Giannis, right? Let's say San Antonio, you could talk about Devin Vassell and the second pick for KD. Previously we had talked about packages built around Stephon Castle. Now San Antonio could keep Stephon Castle and still get a player like KD. Could you imagine KD, Wemby, De'Aaron Fox, and Castle together on the Spurs next year? How awesome that team would be. Or if you're the Sixers,
it'd be really crazy to see that MSU point guard that's expected to be drafted in the 30s jump all the way to 2nd overall, though. I'd be really surprised if that happened.
Wait, shit, who's the MSU point guard?
I forget his name. Yeah.
Oh, Jace Richardson is he's 14th on the Ringer big board. Which,
all right,
actually a little bit...
Congratulations on being picked 2nd overall in that scenario.
Yeah, then. It's a little bit too close for comfort if the Suns do get the 2nd pick. Also, Paul George and the 3rd pick for KD. Would you do it?
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh my God!
You don't know. I've actually broken your brain.
I don't think I would.
First of all, Paul George and Devin Booker is a very interesting fit. That would need to be
and
clear.
Paul George was awful this year.
And he was awful this year, and he's owed more money.
And he's only older. Yeah,
more money.
Only getting older.
But you get the third overall pick. I would say
it may be the worst contract in the NBA.
No, Bradley Beal is the worst contract in the NBA.
But Paul George is
close.
1 year longer at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, I still think Paul George has some value when he plays. He's just not a $50 million player. I think Bradley Beal is actually a negative when he plays, and I personally don't believe Paul George is a negative. If the Spurs win the Giannis sweepstakes, because the Spurs could go all in for Giannis, sure. You don't want to trade for KD, you want to trade for Giannis, sure, that's fine. But now you are giving up probably Vassell and the second pick and Castle. And you're giving up everything, and you'll still at the end of the day have De'Aaron Fox, Giannis, and Wemby, and I'm sure that's still enough to talk yourself into the idea of you can win a championship, absolutely. But it's going to require a lot more.
Yeah, they may be able to pull it off in a way where they absorb some of KD into their cap space, which allows them to keep some of their other players as well, which I think is an advantage for them. And it's an advantage for any team that could do that, because it gets really complicated when you start looking at some of the trades this year. In fact, I mentioned it online, but I'm thinking a lot about trades, obviously, because we have to do it every week. And there's something interesting that happens when you start doing this every week is you start seeing the amount of teams that are projected to potentially be in the second apron next year, and how many of them are going to retreat to try to be out of it. And I look at a team like Brooklyn, who did not get the first overall pick, or even the top, what are they, five? I think they're like 8th or something in this draft. A huge, massive disaster for them. But I look at their cap space and I find it to be kind of fascinating, because there's a world where a team like Boston, for example, has to trade a player, and they can, there's a world where all of a sudden you're trading Cam Johnson for Jaylen Brown or something like that, just because there's salary relief attached to that, and they're giving up not much of an asset for a player that's actually pretty good, because a team like Boston is desperate for salary relief. Or I'm going to talk about them more later, but Cleveland, as an example, as a team that's desperate for it because they're projected to be over $200 million next year in salary, and they have to shed some of that, or Phoenix or anyone else, any other team that needs to do that, they can collect assets essentially for just the idea of having open cap space in a world where teams are desperate to shed salary. It's just kind of an interesting world that we live in, where that cap space becomes really valuable. And in a situation like San Antonio, if they can clear some cap space, if they're trading for someone like Giannis, and the Milwaukee Bucks all of a sudden don't want to spend $190 million in salary next year, getting some of that salary relief is actually a benefit for them too. It's just a weird world that we live in when it comes to trades. Now, just before we get off the lottery too, you didn't watch it live, which I'm surprised. I expected you to watch it live, by the way.
I did.
I understand why you didn't.
I couldn't take it. I
understand why you didn't. As I was watching it, it sort of clarified who I think I would have been happy with winning. Because as it's happening, I'm like, oh, you know what? That would have been fine with me. And seeing Dallas jump up, I'm like, that's kind of a disaster. This is like the worst case scenario for a Suns fan. Is there any team that you're sort of disappointed wasn't up there a little bit higher, or at least at number one?
At number one, I don't know. I didn't feel compelled. Certainly I feel bad for their fan bases, like Charlotte or Washington or whatever, but I don't feel like the Charlotte Hornets deserve to be rewarded, or even the Utah Jazz. That's another terrible team. I guess Brooklyn is a team that I would like to have a fair shot. It helps too, the teams that are in the Eastern Conference. Like, the other part of this that we have to tackle, I feel like, is just overwhelmingly, it feels like a lot of these Giannis favorites, if Giannis is going to be traded, are Western Conference teams. Not like it's a guarantee or anything, but we're talking about San Antonio, we're talking about Dallas, we're talking about Houston. It feels like a lot of Western Conference teams going to be competing for Giannis, who is currently still a top 3 player in the NBA and may continue to be a top 3 player in the NBA for the foreseeable future. And so just one more reason, like the idea of the Suns being all in trying to compete in a Western Conference where Jokic is still there and Giannis is there and Shea is there and Luka is still there, and it's just, meanwhile Tatum gets to maybe sleepwalk to the
Steph
finals
is
every
still
year
good.
in the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference, right? It's fucking sucks. It really does. And now even Cooper Flag is going to be there in the West
Yeah.
too, maybe. Well, I guess not if he gets, maybe not if he gets traded for Giannis, like to the Bucks or something. But the conferences are just so imbalanced still. So yeah, I would love to see Brooklyn build a super team, or I would love to see Washington make the most out of their 6th pick this year and build something great alongside Alex Sarr and Bilal Coulibaly. It just feels like that's not happening anytime soon. And so I do feel for those fan bases, but also those fan bases are small, and that's why Adam Silver felt that he could fuck them over. And nobody would say anything. Can I just say, by the way,
Brooklyn was the team for me too, by the way. That was the team that I was like, I kind of wish he was just there.
Yeah.
Then we don't have to worry about him. He's on the East. That fan base has suffered. Give them something to be excited about. But
it would have
go
been
ahead.
it would have been kind of funny if like Chicago won or something. I don't know, one of these other teams that was like 12th or 13th in odds. Maybe they could have, finally built something that wasn't just like a 500 or under 500 team. Yeah, like the most mediocre team imaginable. When they changed the lottery odds a few years back, it was under the pretense of we're trying to fight tanking, right? We don't like all these tanking teams. But like now that even the 12th or 13th or 14th worst team still has like a 2% chance at winning the lottery, it does feel like a lot of cover. I'm sorry to go back to the conspiracy theories. It does feel like just this extra plausible deniability of like, well, it's not our fault we gave the Dallas Mavericks the first overall pick. They still had a 2% chance, right? Whereas under the old system, it was literally like if you were the 13th team or whatever, you had like 1 in 1,000 odds of getting the first overall pick. Like there was a 25% chance back in the day. If you were the worst team, you got the number 1 pick. Now that's reduced to like 13%. I just wonder.
Alchemy Roast Coffee is my favorite coffee every single morning. I start my day with coffee from Alchemy Roast, and you should too. AlchemyRoaster.com has the best coffee, and it's local here in Phoenix. They're a Metro Phoenix-based coffee roaster that focuses on the transformational process of coffee from seed to cup. They're about more than just coffee. Passion, dedication, and community. They're a small batch roastery committed to sourcing the finest beans and mastering the art of the roast, and they do it ethically. A small batch roaster, that means they're sourcing beans from all over the world for you to try, and I highly recommend you pick out some beans on alchemyroaster.com and use the promo code TIMELINE to get some beans. I just tried the single origin beans from Tanzania, and they're incredible. Amazing coffee, lightly roasted and local. Go to alchemyroaster.com, use the promo code TIMELINE, try some of their beans. They have beans from Honduras, from Tanzania, from Papua New Guinea, Guatemala, Mexico, and they're all roasted locally here in Mesa. Alchemyroaster.com, promo code TIMELINE gets you 10% off coffee. Go there, order some coffee today, give it a try. Alchemyroaster.com, promo code TIMELINE.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
Let's talk about Houston a little bit more. So Houston did end up with the 10th overall pick in this draft. They had a 17% chance is what it was, right? To jump into the top 4.
It's the top 4, yeah.
So in some ways, the Suns sort of dodged a bullet there. Metaphorical, right? It didn't matter. The Suns weren't getting this pick no matter what. But at least emotionally dodged a bullet in that case. Houston ends up with the pick that they're at. But this morning, there was some extra Houston slop. Can we just have a little digression about slop season real quick? There's slop now. We're going to get into the actual slop. But I just want to say it's begun. We're officially in slop season, and it's gonna, with Giannis being out there and KD being out there, it's gonna get fired up to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. Probably, well, since last season, but it's gonna be even worse than last season. It's gonna be even worse than last season. And there's things that happen during slop season that I just think people need to be aware of. And there's a couple things a couple ways that I want people to think about it as we're getting into it. One, try to enjoy it. It can be a little frustrating, but there is ways to enjoy it. Understand that Sam and I, we're going to cover a lot of it here on the podcast. Some of it will be true, some of it won't be true. So first of all, there, but also keep up your just look around. Just see who's making the reports. Try to be aware of it. See if it's real. See if it's legit. Try and figure out if it's somebody who just wants some internet clout or if it's someone who's actually reporting something legitimate. The other thing I'll say is, when you see people reporting, specifically during slop season, just really try to read into how it's worded. I think it really matters how these people word things and how much you need to buy into it based on that alone. Because a lot of the reports that come out from specifically guys like Jake Fisher, or actually quite a few of the people with The Athletic, is they'll do sources from around the league are saying that they expect something to happen. Now, those people often are not with the team that they're reporting on. And so when they say sources from around the league, they're just throwing something out there that somebody threw out there to them. So someone's speculating to them, someone who is in a job of, probably some level of respect, speculating, and then they're just reporting it out there, helps them to get clicks and all that. So try to read into the wording. And then last thing, we're in a time with the amount of players that could potentially be available and the way that the second apron currently works, where obviously it's important to try to read into the motivation of certain reports.
Yeah. And
this is something that you and I will do regularly. And we went through it, and I think Suns fans are pretty experienced with this. Just from the KD trade alone, is we saw how easily there are people with some level of motivation sending things out to reporters to report things, to try to impact things in their way, in a positive way. So what that could mean is the Suns could put something out there, which they haven't done traditionally under James Jones, but we're in a different era now. The Suns could put something out there that is to their benefit. Houston could put something out there to their benefit. We remember honestly, Brooklyn really had a direct line to Woj when the KD trade was happening.
The Suns haven't done it yet, but everything we do know about this new era, this new front office, I expect it to be a rather noisy iteration of the Suns in terms of what they leak to reporters.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah.
Always ask yourself, who benefits from this information, this particular information that I'm reading? Who benefits from this information being revealed at this particular time? There's always an answer to that question.
Exactly. And to that point, we got some slop today. Suns-related slop, quite a bit, actually. Well, two separate reports, I think, that are related to the exact same thing. First thing I want to mention, Houston essentially putting it out there that actually, no, we don't want Devin Booker. And actually, we really like Jalen Green. Jalen Green's pretty cool, and he's actually young, and we think he's fine, even though he was bad in the playoffs. And it's a really hilarious timing on this report too, right? Because the Suns have maintained for a very long time that Devin Booker is not available, and they continually maintain that throughout the entire offseason. And then they had a press conference just last week where the new general manager put it out there in really plain language that Devin Booker is going to be involved with every decision that this franchise makes when it comes to roster building. So the Suns made it very clear that Devin Booker was a huge part of this organization going forward. And then Houston, of course, releases a report saying, actually, we didn't even want him. That's fine. That's totally fine. And the way it's worded is pretty funny because it's essentially saying Jalen Green is younger and fits the timeline better for them, said the word. And then lastly, also Devin Booker wasn't that good last season anyway. Is basically how it was worded at the end, which is funny because it's like still way better than Jalen Green.
Yeah, that's the particularly funny part for me. Now, look, like us, we're allowed to say it. You know, we're as people who have watched like every Devin Booker game, I feel like we're allowed to be like, well, you know, technically last season wasn't Book's best season. He really struggled from the 3-point line. He struggled defensively, but like still leaps and bounds above what Jalen Green was, even in the regular season. I mean, we were saying in the regular season that there's such a vast difference between who these two players are. Jalen Green couldn't dream of being the playmaker that Devin
7
Booker
assists
is.
to 2 turnovers, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jalen Green in the regular season, before I even get to the playoffs, and trust me, I'm getting there. In the regular season, Jalen Green averaged 3.4 assists to 2.5 turnovers. And look, I get it. He's young. He's 22. But also, this was his 4th season. And by Devin Booker's 4th season, he was a much better playmaker than where Jalen Green is in his 4th season, too. By Devin Booker's 4th season, he was already averaging 6 or 7 assists per game. Jalen Green in the playoffs. Good Lord. His game log, you could just read it off. He had one 30-something point game.
Yeah.
Game 2, he scored 38 points in a win against the Warriors. Other than that, Game 1, 7 points. Game 3, 9 points. Game 4, 8 points. Game 5, 11. Game 6, 12. Game 7, 8 points. He had one respectable outing for a starting player who is supposed to be like among, you know, a focal point of their offense, essentially, at one respectable game. And it's his first playoff series, okay, fine. But the final stats there, 13 points per game, 3 assists per game, 48% true shooting. So it's not just like, you know, they weren't using him on offense. He was taking shots. He just missed all of them.
Yeah.
There's no competition here. Look, obviously, like, it's music to my ears because I don't want to trade Devin Booker to the Houston Rockets.
I wasn't worried about it. Like,
in the
it
first
could
place,
happen in
but
future seasons. I just knew it wasn't happening this season regardless. Like, I think a lot of people aren't as plugged into the Suns right now, and why would they be? As far as fans go. So I understand why fans are going to throw out a new Devin Booker trade every single week, but there's been no reason to believe that that's happening. It's just pretty clear that the Suns are planning to try again to build a winner, and they want to do that with Devin Booker. And look, maybe they call Milwaukee and say, well, what about Giannis or something with Booker? Or maybe they even call Dallas and say, what about, you know, that first overall pick for Devin Booker? But outside of those two things, I don't think that's happening. And by the way, I'm not reporting that. I'm just saying there's like a logical sense to that, to those kinds of things, just to see, gauge his value, try and figure out what's available to you. But I just don't think there's any chance that Houston's going to be, they don't want their own picks. They're planning on being good. They don't really care about their own picks. And now whether or not they're good is something that we're going to continue to question throughout all of this. But that's what they plan on doing. So that is what it is. And from Houston's perspective, to put this report out there, it's pretty clear they're going, nobody wants Jalen Green. I think we're probably going to end up with Jalen Green on the team next year. So let's just put it out there that we actually like him, just in case, so that he's not pissed off at us. He doesn't want to leave or make the season a disaster next year.
Look, I'm still willing to work with them. I don't want Jalen Green directly. And, you know, talk about who he is versus Devin Booker. We've also said, like, if you can get Jalen Green on the same team as Devin Booker, they just don't fit next to each other. But I'm still willing to work with Houston on facilitating a Kevin Durant trade that I think makes Houston much better, as long as Jalen Green is going to a third team, not the Phoenix Suns. He can go to Orlando. You know, he could go to Washington.
Boston. Yeah, I know. Brooklyn,
Brooklyn, whatever. There are a bunch of places for him where I think he could thrive. I just don't think that team is with the Phoenix Suns. I do wonder, you know, when we kind of do the Kevin Durant desperation power rankings, so to speak, the KD thirst power rankings, if there's a team between Houston, who just got bounced in the first round after winning 50-plus games, San Antonio, who I don't know. I don't know how desperate San Antonio is. It's just like now they have this second overall pick, and they have the capacity to make things happen if they want to. And Dallas, obviously, who has the most to lose by, say,
It's Houston. Yeah.
by losing the Giannis sweepstakes? If you go for Giannis first, and now you have to pivot to KD, then that puts the Suns in a position where they can up the price on KD. And yeah, I
think
could see
Giannis
Houston
will have a
being the
lot of
answer.
control over where he goes too. I think, which will make it kind of interesting.
I mean, look, if it's a question between literally, I just threw out San Antonio, Houston, and
you
Dallas.
choose San Antonio.
The 3 Texas teams that are within like 5 hours of each other.
You
So
choose. Well, I don't know. Like there's a world where that Dallas team rocks too. Don't get me wrong, but Wemby, probably smart to want to play with him. I think they could work really well too. That defense would be unbelievable. But from Houston's perspective, the other thing we got today is all from The Athletic, by the way. Kelly Iko was the one who reported it. In the same article, he said that Kevin Durant is very interested in playing with Houston, and Houston, of course, is still split on the idea of trading Kevin Durant. They're never going to report that they're very interested in it either.
Of course.
And by the way, if you're thinking about motivation here, Kevin Durant wanting to get a good team, I think it's pretty clear that that could be true. Houston's perspective, they don't want to tip their cap if they're very interested in him, because that means they're going to be willing to give up more. So they have to, and maybe they're not. Like, we don't really know the truth in this scenario, but they're not going to play it. If they were really interested, they're not going to play it to tip their cap this early. It would be really stupid of them to do that. But let me just make the case for something, though.
Sure.
The idea that Kevin Durant is the wrong move for them right now, do you think that's true for them?
Personally, no. And look, I'm biased in that I want the Suns to move Kevin Durant, but I promise I have some interest in Houston's best intentions at heart as well, right? Like, I think it's great to be in this position where you build a team organically and you can say, like, built not bought and all this stuff, but like the problem with Houston is they have a lot of young players, yes. We kind of question the ceiling on a lot of those young players. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're out here questioning the ceiling of Jalen Green right now. We don't see a particularly high ceiling, at least I don't, with Jabari Smith Jr., Reed Shepherd, guy they just drafted 3rd overall. We're talking about top 3 picks, who they don't even play. We don't know what he's going to be because they don't even play him. I think the one guy you kind of rest your cap on if you're Houston is Amen Thompson, and I absolutely understand if you don't want to move Amen Thompson. Now, granted, he has to learn to shoot in order to like become a high-level star in the NBA, but I understand if you don't want to trade that guy. But guess what? You're not going to have to trade that guy for Kevin Durant. You can make the Kevin Durant trade without trading Amen Thompson, as much as I like him, and those two guys can play together because they're both huge, but KD can shoot.
This is what's so weird.
This is a very important contrast, Mike. I only bring that up because if you make the Giannis trade, you probably do have to trade Amen Thompson, or if by some miracle you don't, those guys are a weird fit. Neither of them shoot. It's a very weird fit in the NBA in 2025, unless you're going to play Giannis at center all the time, to feature heavily 2 guys in your offense, 2 non-shooting wings. And so I think Kevin Durant is like a sensible fit for Houston in a way that, like, yes, I know he's old, but other than that, it just makes a lot of sense. They need a guy who gets buckets. Their offense in the playoffs sucked.
Which is what I think is kind of fascinating about it in their case. I will say on the other side of that, if you're going to trade for Giannis and figure it out. That could easily end in disaster the way it is currently for the Suns, right? It's just there's a world where that happens because you might have to trade everything that you can possibly trade in order to get him, and then you have nothing to build a good team around in the future. But if you can find a way to do it where you don't have to do that, you just do it. But for Kevin Durant, you don't have to give up. And I know Houston thinks a lot is like every young player they have, if there's just one included in there, they think it's a lot from Houston fan perspective, but it's not. Like, the situation that they're in cap-wise is essentially after next year they have to pay Jabari Smith Jr. Now, if you're desperate to pay Jabari Smith Jr., if you're a Houston fan, you're like, we have to keep him no matter what. That's weird to me. He's not that good. I mean, he's good, but it's not like
He played
there
15
is a world,
minutes a game for you in the playoffs.
their
and shot a
salary
few threes.
next year is $190 million. They're already at $190 million. That's just if Fred VanVleet opts into his deal. They're already there. Like, you have to find a world where building a team with young players is sustainable long term. And if you trade some of those young players to have a 2-year window where you could attempt to win a championship with Kevin Durant, and then you still keep the best of those young players and most of your assets to continue to be good because you don't have to trade that much for Kevin Durant, it just makes a lot of sense. I'm actually kind of surprised that Houston fans are against it. I can tell you this. If we were Houston Rockets podcasters right now, a lot of those fans would be mad at us for saying let's trade Jabari Smith and Jalen Green for him.
Yeah, of course. Because people always have an attachment to guys they drafted. Guys they went to see their first NBA points live in action. Like, you just develop that emotional connection.
I think there's a world where they trade for Kevin Durant. His contract is up right when you have to extend Amen Thompson, right? So you line up their salary cap in a way that makes sense for them. Then you have Fred VanVleet opt out and re-sign at a shorter deal because now you have Kevin Durant on the team, right? Because he's probably more willing to do that if they show that Kevin Durant could be on the team. And now you have a team that's built around Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, Dillon Brooks. You have the defenders. You have some of the bigs that you can potentially still play with Şengün, and then maybe Jock stays on the team or something. There's just a really good window for them that's 2 years long. And then you have Amen Thompson locked up long term and cap space around him. That's pretty good. And I know if you like Jalen Green, first of all, get help because he's not that great. But I'm talking about there's a world where they are able to trade essentially Jabari Smith Jr. and Jalen Green. I'm not even talking about much else. Maybe 1 or 2 picks. You still have a ton of picks to work with.
I would
try
mostly
and seconds, but still first. They have their own in 2028.
I would
they have
try
their
and
own
get
in
Reed
2029.
Shepherd.
They have their own in 2030. They have their own in 2031. I just don't get it. I just don't get what they're thinking here.
I don't get how it's that much to them either. And the other thing is, like, I kind of understand this attitude when it comes from OKC fans, because OKC has literally all the picks and
nobody wants to play there.
And
Kevin Durant actually wants to play in Houston.
Yeah, but OKC is also a 68-win team, and they have the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Well,
And
we'll
Houston,
see,
we'll see. But Houston,
I think he's going to win too, but yeah.
Houston is a 52-win team with no top 15 NBA player on their roster. Massive, massive difference in those two fan bases, those two organizations' ability to just sit on their hands and say, hey, we're young. It'll work out. Everything will be fine. Want to know why? For Houston, because if you fuck this up the next year or two and you sit on your hands and you watch Şengün and Jalen Green and Amen Thompson turn into pretty good but not like elite players, then you become the Memphis Grizzlies, who are now at a crossroads where they're probably going to have to trade all of their 26-year-old in their prime quote-unquote stars because you failed. You failed at building the elite, super team that you thought you had.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where Amen Thompson can't shoot later in his career, and that's a problem for them. And they end up giving him a max contract. Like the idea that they could have a window that's 2 years long here early is not as big of a problem as they make it out to be. I think it's actually a good thing, and maybe a good thing to keep your coach like longer term as well, because that man wants to win today.
Oh my God, are the Knicks going to do it? Mike, are they going to do it?
We're recording during the game. Yeah, what's the score?
Sorry, I just checked. They're up by 9 with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They had a huge second half.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Holy shit. They're about to go up 3-1.
We need it.
Oh, I need this. I need the Bill Simmons downfall. Anyway, I'm sorry to drag you away.
Okay, so just to recap, and then we'll get to a trade or two. Houston put it out there that they're not interested in Devin Booker anymore. None of that really matters. Like, if there's a world where the Suns want to trade Devin Booker, they can get their picks back still. They can. It'll be fine. But that's not where we're at right now. So that's fine. They're wanting to make sure that Jalen Green isn't pissed at them. It is what it is. Or maybe even trying to drive the value up on him. It's not going to work. Everyone saw him in the playoffs. We know what it is. Kevin Durant supposedly wants to trade or wants to play in Houston. I think that's interesting. I think that actually that's a pretty good fit for him. I think the defense will still be pretty good, and he can help them get buckets when it matters. Which, by the way, is a 7-game series. Like that's all it would have taken for them to be in the second round right now. I think Kevin Durant would have got them there. Maybe they're interested in him. Maybe they're not. I think they probably are. Look, I know that the trade I just pitched, the idea of just getting Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. for KD with 1 or 2 picks is not the most exciting trade. But I'm not entirely sure what the KD market's going to be. So I'm just trying to throw something out there that could be palatable to the Rockets if that's what they're willing to do. And I think that's the type of trade where, honestly, they're trading one bad player and one good player for Kevin Durant. It's not that crazy. That's a good trade for them.
I think that should be Houston's first offer to Phoenix, and then we jack up the price from there based on other teams.
We're taking Jalen Green. You have to give us more than one pick then. Basically,
you have to give us.
You're trying to do.
I'm saying, if I'm negotiating, if I'm Mr. Gregory,
if it is all our picks back.
If it is Mr. Gregory who's negotiating, I want all our picks back, and I want Reed Shepherd or Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason. Give me multiple.
That's where you start.
Good role players, or your third overall pick,
and also find a third team for Jalen Green if you don't want to do that, and give us something for him. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, trades.
Shit, I feel like we've made a lot of trades. We've thrown out a lot of shit already. I shouldn't have burned my Paul George and the third pick trade on you tonight. I was just spitballing because I should have saved that for next week.
You really surprised me. Well, to be fair, I'm about to give you 3.
Okay.
And 2 of them are my idea, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen them anywhere. And then one of them is one that was just sort of talked about by Ethan Skolnick, so a hint on what that one is. But so there's a couple of things that I wanted to do. There's one trade that I hinted at this team could potentially be into KD. There's one trade that I'm calling the forbidden trade, and then there's the Heat trade that I'll throw out at the end here. Which one would you like to hear first?
Curious about the forbidden trade. I don't want to hear.
You
want
to hear that
though.
one?
Well, I don't know if I want to hear it first.
Okay. Let's start with the Pistons then. This one's not that complicated. I talked about the idea of the Pistons as a potential KD team, if only because I think they would be pretty good with him, right? As I was watching them, I'm like, okay, this team plus KD, they could, and it's the East, right? You could actually probably be in the Eastern Conference Finals with that team if you put KD on it, if you do the type of trade that I wanted to talk about here. So I brought up the Pistons in the trade machine more than anything else, because I just wanted to see what a potential trade could look like. Now, I'm not advocating for this trade from the Pistons side. I'm not advocating for this trade from the Suns side. If anything, I just wanted to see what was possible and have a starting point to potentially talk about what could exist in this type of trade and what actually works salary-wise. Then if we want to iterate on this later, you and I, to try to find a third team for one of these players or something like that, we could look at doing that and see if there's anything else available. But the idea was, how do I add KD to this team that keeps them as a pretty good team next year? And the trade is pretty simple. They don't have a lot of big salaries outside of Cade, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at their cap sheet right now. I didn't realize a bunch of guys who were good for them this year. Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley are all coming off the books this summer. They're all free
and I think
agents.
they could probably resign most of them, especially if KD joins the team, right? I think you could probably get them back. I don't think any of those players... Malik Beasley is going to be interesting contract-wise because the middle class is gone, as we've talked about quite a bit. But I don't think he's going to make a ton of money even still.
Yeah, I think you're right. But if Malik Beasley can't get an MLE in the NBA anymore, then really they should burn CJ McCollum at the stake. I mean, it's just he just had a really good season on a playoff team. And so if he's like a $3 million guy now, that just sucks, man. That sucks.
Yeah. We'll see. Kevin Durant goes to Detroit. Coming back to the Suns, Tobias Harris, Isaiah Stewart, Ausar Thompson.
Whoa.
2028 and 2030 first-round picks.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Tobias Harris, pretty good this year. Actually was pretty good this year. Isaiah Stewart, I think, pretty representative of the identity that Matt Ishbia talked about over and over again. maybe he's a little bit more fight than basketball in some games, but like he's not the worst player. He's pretty good at times and, you know, pretty okay at times. He's not like consistent enough to be an excellent starter, but Isaiah Stewart's a pretty good player. Asar Thompson is actually pretty interesting in this case because Amen Thompson, like you can watch him in that last game, that game 7, and you could project a future superstar on him, and I'd believe you. Asar Thompson has not had those types of moments, but is still insanely athletic, insanely strong. And for those who don't know, they're twins, by the way.
Yeah, and true
athletic,
Phoenix Suns, a true Phoenix Suns
the wrong brother, yeah.
legacy move of potentially trading for the wrong brother yet again. The Taylor Griffin, if you will. No, that's disrespectful. Asar Thompson is not the Taylor Griffin.
A ton of potential.
Thompson's,
a ton
Griffin.
of potential in Asar Thompson. Don't get me wrong. But like has not shown a ton of flashes of offense. Looks to be an excellent defensive player. Fits the mold of, I think, where the NBA is going, even if the offense isn't quite there, because he's going to be an effective playoff player no matter what, and he just was. And then, of course, you get 2 first-round picks with the hope that Kevin Durant ruins their franchise, right?
Yep, he is. Asar Thompson is a dog. I think he fits this identity that Gregory and Ishbia have thrown at us a couple of times of just trying to become feistier and really embracing the physicality of the new NBA, particularly what the NBA looks like in the playoffs right now. I think that's much more in line with what the Suns want their next iteration of the roster to look like. And Asar Thompson fits that. And I guess Isaiah Stewart fits that too. I don't know about Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris would be like a stopgap 1-year guy. Maybe you could even flip him somewhere else, Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Forbidden trade?
Give me the forbidden trade.
By the way, those listening, if you find a third team that makes sense for Tobias Harris, I didn't spend a ton of time on this, but I think there is a world where, like, I actually think the Suns could use a player like Tobias Harris next year.
Tobias Harris is 32 years old.
Yeah.
He should be 47. How is
Tobias Harris good in the playoffs this last year too, actually?
How is Tobias Harris 32? He's been in the NBA. Wow, he's been in the NBA for 14 years, man. He was a true 18-year-old coming out of the draft. That's crazy.
Tobias Harris, Channing Frye's cousin. I don't know if there's a lot of people that know that, but they're related. Like I said, I thought Tobias Harris was pretty good in the playoffs this year, but let me look at his actual stats. 15.7 points per game.
Made threes.
7.7 rebounds. Yeah, made shots. 43% from 3. Didn't miss a free throw. Like, look, offensively, you can't rely on him to score 20 or 25 points or something every night, obviously. But consistent 15 points and occasional shot creation from a player that's pretty big. Not the least valuable thing for a team that's going to be mediocre next year in the Suns. Or bad. Who knows? Throw that out there. Forbidden trade. You've been watching the playoffs, right?
Yep. Oh, is this where Cleveland comes up?
Cleveland.
Okay, what do you got?
So Indiana just beat the crap out of them in that last game.
Yeah,
like just
ridiculous.
Absolutely, completely tore them apart. They're beat up. Don't get me wrong. They're beat up. But like pretty much everyone played until Donovan Mitchell rolled his ankle. Weird game from Mobley. Weird games for Darius Garland, who's injured. We know he's injured. They don't look good. And they haven't looked good. But also their owner and Matt Ishbia. I don't know. I don't want to call them rivals. I think they're like enemies. They're like actual enemies. They seem to hate each other. This
really is a forbidden. It's a true Montague Capulet story here between these two.
So this will not happen. But look, I'm trying to find things to talk about and make it fun. Like I went back and I looked at the voicemail from the famous recorded voicemail from Matt Ishbia where he's talking about beating Rocket Mortgage and whatever their mortgage competition numbers were for the year. And he says at one point, I truly hate them with all my heart. That's how he describes the Rocket Mortgage guys. So he truly hates them with all his heart. But man, would they be good with KD. They would be so good with KD. And they kind of need someone like him. And don't get me wrong, defense was a problem in this game too. They have a lot of shot makers. But like someone who's not afraid of the moment besides Donovan Mitchell would really be helpful for them. Jared Allen, who I love, shrinks in the playoffs pretty regularly. Mobley is not ready.
Ty Jerome's
he's gotten better every year. Ty Jerome disappeared. Yeah.
He's had a brutal playoffs, which sucks because, I mean, you know, that's a guy the Suns drafted, obviously, and was such a good story this year, and he's just been terrible. If you could just slide KD into, like, the Max Strus spot and just have him wait, I don't know how happy he would be just waiting for the ball to come to him. Yeah, they'd be really good.
Darius Garland and someone for Kevin Durant. Now, this won't happen for many reasons. One, they'll never trade with each other. Two, they're in the second apron, so it becomes really complicated. They'd have to shed salary.
Oh, okay. They're both second apron teams. Yeah.
Well, the Suns probably won't be by the time they're making trades. But in this case, they actually have a ton of salary next year. I'm looking at Cleveland. Right now, before they fill their roster out, because the Evan Mobley extension, which ups his salary from $11 million to $46 million next year, before they fill their roster out with, they're going to need like 6 more players, $217 million. Deep into the second apron already. I just don't know what they're going to do next year. They can't take this roster into next year, or maybe they will. Like, maybe it's worth it. But, like, if they get demolished in the second round, can you justify having a $230 million payroll on this team next year? I can't imagine they do. But anyway, hypothetically, would you be satisfied if it was like Max Strus and Darius Garland for KD? No picks.
Yeah. I mean, Darius Garland's 25, and he's under contract for a couple more years, and he's really good. So, yeah, I would do that. Max Strus
and then they would
fine,
be
is whatever.
And this is all hypothetical, but they would be Evan Mobley, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, and Kevin Durant.
They'd be so big.
Yeah, they'd be huge.
They would lose a lot of their dribble penetration by no longer
they'd
having
have to
Darius
keep.
Garland.
They'd probably have to keep Ty Jerome.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think the concern if you're Cleveland is how much of our offensive engine are we losing by no longer having the dribble drive threat of Darius Garland. The flip side of it, though, is obviously KD is a tremendous, tremendous shot maker, and your team is so massive. Like, you can
and
literally
the defense would be so good.
You can just have an awesome starting five where Donovan Mitchell is the smallest guy on the floor.
It'll never happen. Kind of fun to think about, though.
Sad.
I mean, there is a world where they have to get rid of Darius Garland, though.
Honestly, it's just
like
sad.
I honestly, I look at their payroll and I think, is Darius Garland really going to end up on this team next year? Like, because that's the only one that logically makes sense for me for them to trade. I don't think they'll get rid of Mobley. Maybe they give up on Jared Allen and they say, we'll just keep Mobley as our sole big. But like, that's their whole identity, is having both of them defensively. And obviously Donovan Mitchell has been awesome in the playoffs. They're not planning on getting rid of him, I don't think. And I don't know. They might need to shed salary. Darius Garland might be the guy.
Honestly, it just bugs me, this idea that, like, it's already kind of hard to make NBA trades. The notion that there's this one team that we're saying the Suns can just never trade with because of stupid, like, corporate stuff. Like, here's my question.
These two guys are both billionaires. They're doing fine.
Here's my question. Let's say the rule is that we've established is that the Suns and Cavs cannot trade with each other directly. Okay, fine. My question
what if Darius Garland goes to Brooklyn? Can we get him from Brooklyn or something? Yeah.
I mean, if there's a 4-team trade and the Suns and Cavs are involved and they don't directly send each other anything, but they're both in the trade, therefore both Ishbia and Gilbert have to tell themselves, like, we've both benefited from the other in some way. Can they do that? Are they mentally capable of that, or can we not even do that level of trading with each other?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. One more. You want to hear one more before we go here?
Yeah, hit me with it.
The team that might be willing to give up the most for Kevin Durant appears to be the Miami Heat. And this might be the situation where the Suns are really just looking to trade him to the Miami Heat. Ethan Skolnick, one of the reporters for the Miami Heat, and I would call him part of the Miami Mafia type reporters, where he does their bidding in many ways. So when you're getting something from him, I think you can. It's through their rose-colored glasses very much. And he proposed the idea of Andrew Wiggins, Duncan Robinson, Khalil Ware,
Okay.
and multiple picks.
Okay. So Khalil Ware being the one thing of value, and
Multiple
the
picks?
Fine. Yeah.
Multiple picks, and you're trading 37-year-old Kevin Durant there.
Okay, 2 first-round picks and Khalil Ware is everything that I'm getting because Duncan Robinson
That's
is nothing,
essentially
and
3
Wiggins
first-round
is-
picks, but
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
and 2 playable players. I mean, you can play them next year.
look, I'm not saying it's the worst offer.
I think it might be the best.
For anything I've ever heard. That's a crazy opinion, Mike. I can't believe you started it as like the team that is willing to go the furthest for Kevin Durant is the Miami
the
Heat.
things.
I wish they
when
had
we're talking
more.
we're talking about reports, Sam, from their people. So when you look at what Houston people are talking about trading for Kevin Durant, they're saying Dylan Brooks and maybe Cam Whitmore. You know, like that's what we're talking about. They're saying. I'm not talking about the trades we've made up. Obviously, we've made up a whole bunch of great trades that benefit the Suns.
Yeah, I guess the
I'm
issue
talking
is
about what people from other teams are actually reporting. This is the best offer we've heard. That's on the table.
what's the best offer you could possibly build out of Miami's roster is the issue
The
because I think
salaries are hard.
of a
you
lot of
kind
the
have to
teams-
include both of these guys. Unless you
well,
include
of a lot of
Bam.
the a lot of the teams we've talked about, like they have Khalil Ware and Jaime Jaquez, and not a lot else to build an enticing offer out of. And so I don't know. I mean, like,
Ware's good.
yeah,
He's a big who shoots threes.
let me look at Khalil Ware's stats again. Admittedly, I can't remember what he averaged this year. 9 points, 7 rebounds.
Look at the last 20 games of the
He
season.
shot 32% on threes. Are we really are we going to
There-
stake our future
Yes.
to that?
Yeah, I think he's 7 feet tall.
I know he's big. It's just, not the most attractive offer. Is Miami going to be a Giannis team? Do they think they can get Giannis?
I don't think they have the assets, but yeah, I mean, if he wants to go there, maybe that's a world. Then again, Dame wanted to go there, so I'm not sure you can get that excited by that. I like this move. I like this trade. I think that if you can get multiple picks from a team that has an aging Kevin Durant in the future, that could be pretty valuable.
Giannis goes to Miami. KD goes to Milwaukee. Bam goes to Phoenix?
No.
Okay. All right. I tried.
I would
something.
love that.
I tried
I would
something.
love that. Don't get me wrong.
That's fine. I think of your 3 trades, I like the forbidden one the best, which is unfortunate, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think it's the most interesting. It's just not something that you can really count on. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. Anyway, that's all I got. I mean, I gave you 3, so I definitely did my work this week. It's up to you to come up with one next week. One of them I didn't create, but 2 of them I did. So it's interesting to think about the future, and I think we're going to hear more and more and more slop, and we're going to get into all the slop as the season rolls along. Maybe we'll have some coaching news,
I hope
soon.
so soon.
And we can talk about some sort of coaching news soon. But I think we are ready to start diving into some draft content probably by next week. So expect us to start talking about the draft and looking at it a little bit more seriously, maybe having a draft guy or 2 on the podcast very soon to get their opinions on where
the
the Suns are picking.
measurables. I know. Have you done any research so far?
The combines now? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have. I definitely have started diving in.
I've circled a few names. I have some guys on a list. I don't build a big board because I don't do enough research for that. Measurables are coming out of the combine right now, including a lot came out today, and yeah, it's interesting. It's already interesting.
Definitely. Well, appreciate you all for listening. We'll be back. We missed our Patreon episode thanks to that press conference. Our schedules got all out of whack. We'll be back on our normal schedule this week and have a Patreon episode this week if you'd like to join. Patreon.com/thetimeline. We appreciate you all, and we'll be back very soon.